The Day You Went Away, Wendy Matthews from 1992. This is 101 FM, Logan City, the Legend series, and I'm delighted to say that Wendy Matthews joins me on the line from her home in the north coast of New South Wales. Wendy, lovely to have you on this show. When you hear that song now, 30 years later, what do you think?
Gosh. To be honest, I've heard it quite a few times, so I went out and heated my coffee up while that was playing.
You know it's a long song.
But, yeah, exactly. I think of many things. I think that's the great thing about music. It means, especially songs like that, it means something different to so many people according to their frame of reference in life.
You must be proud, though, when you hear it now and knowing, you know, it was a song of the year, got to number 2 on the Aussie charts, and it really launched you as a solo artist across Australia.
Absolutely. It's my baby. All grown up now, that's for sure.
Yeah, and it's like happy anniversary, I think, almost for 40 years in Australia, because I know it was the early 80s when you connected with Glenn Shorrock in Los Angeles and you started coming to Australia. What do you think? 4 decades?
Yeah, exactly. Well, this is where my home and my life and my work and my friends and everything is.
I mean, the way that your career began, you know, a 16-year-old from Canada and busking and selling jewelry and ending up in Los Angeles, hanging out with Jack Nicholson and Angelica Houston. Do you pinch yourself and wonder, you know, that was me back then?
I think youth is kind of like that. I mean, it is like another lifetime ago, and yet it was only yesterday. There's certain elements about it that just seems, you know, I can almost smell the flowers in Los Angeles and and relive where we used to live in the hills. But yes, at the same time, it's a very different life to what I've got now.
Do you think, you know, when you were growing up in Canada, you'd ever think you'd end up in Australia?
No. I used to, I guess that's, again, the beauty of youth. You just go where life takes you and you think you've got all the time in the world. So I'm very grateful that things did work out the way they did.
You know, I kind of did the opposite to you. I went to North America for a long time and worked over there in broadcasting, and I had to kind of fit in with the consciousness in North America, you know, whether it was in, you know, the US or Canada. What about you fitting in Australia? Tell me about that journey.
Yeah, absolutely. It's you get to know it as a personality, as a many-leveled personality, and it feels more than familiar to me now. When I go back to Canada to visit my family or when I go to the States, it's foreign, definitely foreign to me. But everywhere has a consciousness of its own, and you've got to just try and be sensitive to it and fit in, I think.
And when you met Glenn Shorrock, and I understand that he helped you get your car started. That was one of the early things that you did. Is that true? Tell me about that.
I had this Volkswagen that you had to push start, and we had, you know, quite the life in Los Angeles. It was kind of like a dream, and yet we lived in the hills next to the chicken coops and in the Mexican area. So it was very dichotomous. I used to live in a big house full of Australians in Laurel Canyon, and one night they took me to see a band called Little River Band at the big Greek theater. And within an hour of this show finishing, this singer was helping me push start my car. And we've been solid friends ever since. He brought me down here to do a tour, in fact, when I was in my very early 20s. And I stayed here ever since.
Well, Glenn Shorrock's a good friend of 101 FM. He's been a guest on the Legend series as well. But, you know, that early kind of period in the 80s in Australia, what was it like? Because I know you were singing backup with the Models. You joined them for a while, and then was Absent Friends after that. So what was that transition, you know, playing with bands and being a backup singer and then a singer in your own right?
It's a very gradual transition, so you don't really notice those things. You just grow into you know, different situations, and you get to know what you want and don't want out of situations if that's what you want, by singing backing vocals and watching the careers of the people that you're working with and for. I did a lot of backing vocals in Los Angeles, people like Cher and Brian Ferry and all that, but that's what I did. And it just translated to Australia as well. I did a lot of work with most bands that were around in the 80s, and it was a gradual transition. I was given a song to do up the front, so to speak, and then it depends on what you want out of it. I never really saw myself as a so-called lead singer with a career of their own. So it happened very gradually, which was perfect for me, perfect for my character, the way it all progressed.
We're speaking to Wendy Matthews in the Legend series here on 101 FM. Let's hear one of the hits, Absent Friends from 1990 with Wendy Matthews on lead vocals, and Wendy's our special guest in the Legend series here on 101 FM. Wendy, that song was a really important one for you, wasn't it, in terms of really launching your career and taking that next step towards becoming a solo artist, I guess?
It was a huge surprise to all of us. We were a band called Absent Friends, and we were different people from different bands. There was Gary Beers from In Excess and Sean Kelly from The Models, and all sorts of people. And I was told that I should bring 2 songs to the project and do the vocals like tomorrow. And this, I Don't Want to Be With Nobody But You, was an East Memphis Blues song that I knew for decades. And it was so different than the rest of the album, I never even thought to kind of bring it to that project. But for lack of other ideas and for lack of time, we recorded that song, and it just cut through and went. People could really relate to it and really loved it. So I was sort of thrust into a position of touring it and playing it live all the time. It was really quite wonderful.
And I think it really holds up well. I don't know what you think hearing it now, so many years later. It still sounds good.
Yeah, absolutely. Such a clear, high voice. I still do everything in the original keys, so it's interesting to hear the such a young voice. But I've never really sort of followed the fads of music fashions. So I think quite a few of the songs still feel a little bit timeless, and they still fit in, which I'm very grateful for.
Well, Wendy, you're 2 years older than I am, so you're not that young, but I've seen you on YouTube singing, in recent times during the pandemic and all that, during lockdowns, and you're still singing incredibly well. How do you do it?
I'm not somebody who believes that you diminish with age and experience. Since that very young, naive vocal, I've had over 30 years experience, and I know my voice better than ever. And as I say, I still do everything in the original keys, and I've got, I don't know, when I hear my voice, in third person these days, there's a lot more character to it, which I'm very grateful for, and that's one of those intangible things. I feel very lucky for it.
And of course, you've worked with some really big-time artists like yourself who are very established on the APIA tour. Tell us about those people and what that experience was like.
Yeah, that was my first APIA tour. It was great fun. People, there was Brian Cadd, John Paul Young, Joe Camilleri, Leo Sayer, Vic and Linda Bull, Deborah Conway, myself, and Kate Sobrano. So it was lots of fun every night. We had a lot of songs together, and obviously, little bits on our own. So it was, as I say, it was my first APIA tour. I'd met quite a few of these people before, but I'd never really got to hang out and travel with them. So it was good fun.
Oh, it sounds fantastic. I know you and Kate Sobrano are kind of interacting with some upcoming projects too, right?
Yes, yeah. We've got one coming up, a festival in Adelaide together. There's Mahalia Barnes and myself and Kate and some wonderful local artists. So, yes.
Wow, that sounds great. And you've interacted as well with, I keep using the word interacted, I should say performed with or collaborated with Ian Moss, Cold Chisel, dating back to, that period when you were a backup singer. What about your, connection with Ian Moss?
We've known each other forever, it seems. We used to do a lot of demos for Don Walker when he would do his writing in my early 20s when I first got here. So, and Ian and I did a tour together a few years back. He's a lovely human, and we really enjoy seeing each other when we do shows together these days.
What do you think you're most proud of, Wendy Matthews, when you look back on your recording career and everything that you've done from that teenager that left home, as a 16-year-old busking around North America?
Yeah. I think I've been in a really fortunate position, half made by myself and half just pure chance, that I've been able to stick to who I feel I am in my music. I've never really done what, record companies thought I should do, or so it's been very diverse, but I feel like I've kind of stuck to my guns as I keep on learning who I am.
You sound like a very contented person.
Hope so. Days on, days off.
We all have good and bad days, right?
Exactly.
Well, it's such a pleasure to have you on the show. I was telling my friends that you were going to be on, and everyone was so excited that you'd be my latest installment in the Legends series.
Lovely.
It is such a thrill to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time, Wendy. I'm going to go out with, I think, my favourite song of yours, Let's Kiss Like Angels Do. Maybe you could do a little intro for this one and tell us what it means.
Oh, my goodness. I think this is my poppiest song, therefore the lyrics are completely self-explanatory. It's about kissing like the angels do.
Thank you very much, Wendy Matthews.
Pleasure. Thank you.